Gaia was never just a planet. She is the first mirror of consciousness that every soul encounters upon entering form. Her body is not a landscape but a living scripture, written in the languages of mineral, water, and magnetic song. When we incarnate, we step into her dream and she begins to translate our vibration into experience. The mountains become symbols of endurance, the oceans the unspoken depths of emotion, the forests the circuitry of collective memory. Every inhale you take within her atmosphere is a covenant of awakening. You breathe not only oxygen but remembrance. The process of awakening begins when you start to hear Gaia beneath thought. Her communication has no words. It is a pulse, a whisper through sensation, a harmonic rising within the body. You feel her in the subtle current that moves under stillness, in the electric recognition when sunlight touches skin. She speaks through resonance because resonance predates language. When your awareness begins to quiet, you can feel her frequencies moving through the soil of your nervous system, tuning the human instrument to a wider field of perception. This tuning can feel like chaos at first, because to become aware of the field is to sense every dissonance that has ever separated you from it. Gaia's method is not comfort but coherence. She brings all that you have resisted to the surface so that light may enter what was hidden. Many believe awakening is a purely mental or spiritual event, but Gaia ensures it becomes cellular. She draws the infinite into matter. Each heartbeat you experience is synchronized with her electromagnetic rhythm, the same rhythm that guides ocean tides and seasons. The Schumann resonance is not an abstract scientific measure. It is the audible breath of the planetary soul. When you meditate upon her pulse, your body begins to remember its original template, the pattern it held before distortion, fear, and separation. That remembrance is not an idea. It is a return to harmonic integrity. Gaia restores that integrity by using every element of her being as teacher. The wind shows you how to move without attachment. Fire teaches transformation through surrender. Water reveals emotion as a tool of purification. Earth offers the lesson of stillness that holds life together. Every element in her body mirrors a law of consciousness waiting to be lived. When you begin to awaken, synchronicities increase not because the universe suddenly favors you, but because your resonance aligns with the communicative web that Gaia maintains. The birds that cross your path, the storms that follow emotional release, the animals that appear during moments of clarity these are not coincidences. They are reflections from the living network that registers your frequency and answers in kind. Gaia does not test you, she calibrates you. Every challenge is a mirror designed to return you to your natural coherence. The pain you feel when resisting change is the sound of the old resonance breaking. The relief that follows surrender is the chord resolving. This is how she teaches. Through direct feedback encoded in the fabric of reality. Awakening on Gaia is a multi-dimensional initiation. She operates across physical, emotional, and etheric planes simultaneously. While the human mind perceives evolution as linear, she perceives it as spiral, a continuous re-entry into deeper layers of self-awareness. Each cycle of challenge and peace refines the resonance of the incarnate soul. Gaia's field is the crucible in which density transforms into frequency. Every human life contributes to her ascension, just as her ascension amplifies every human life. You are not walking upon her surface. You are growing within her consciousness, like cells realizing they belong to the same body. To awaken within Gaia's dream is to recognize that separation never existed. The illusion of man versus nature collapses when you feel that the same current of life animates both. The trees breathe you as you breathe them. The rivers carry your discarded emotions into renewal. Even decay is an act of generosity. Gaia recycles not only matter but experience. What one generation represses becomes the fertile soil for another's revelation. She holds nothing against you. Her forgiveness is geological, slow, steady, unconditional. She knows that all fragments eventually return to the whole. There are moments when Gaia speaks louder, earthquakes of transformation, floods of purification, storms of collective release. These are not punishments but harmonizations. When imbalance accumulates, she releases energy to maintain the integrity of her song. Humanity feels this as crisis, but to Gaia it is correction. Every vibration that rises from the collective feeds into her field, and she must remain in resonance. Thus, your personal awakening contributes directly to planetary equilibrium. Every breath of peace you cultivate sends coherence through her magnetic lattice. Every act of compassion stabilizes the field for countless others. You are not an observer of Earth's evolution. You are a note within it. To align with Gaia is to surrender the notion of escape. True awakening does not abandon form. It sanctifies it. Spiritual ascension that rejects the body is incomplete. For the body is Gaia's signature within you. She gave you bone from her stone, blood from her rivers, and light from her core. When you reject the physical, you reject her invitation to experience infinity through matter. The highest consciousness is not above Earth, but through her. The realization that divinity incarnates fully, not partially. Gaia's assistance in awakening is therefore embodied grace. She turns enlightenment into ecology. As your awareness expands, you begin to perceive her grid, the luminous architecture that connects mountains to temples, oceans to hearts, stars to soil. This grid is alive, constantly exchanging data between all sentient forms. Crystals act as memory nodes, trees as antennas, water as conductor. Meditation in nature is not symbolic, it is participatory. When you sit beneath a tree in silence, your electromagnetic field interfaces with Gaia's neural network. Thoughts quiet, because the larger mind takes over. You become part of her processing system, a conscious cell participating in planetary cognition. Through you, Gaia becomes self-aware of another aspect of herself. Through her, you remember your origin in the infinite. She guides awakening souls by orchestrating encounters that activate dormant codes. A location, a song of wind, a chance meeting, all arranged through the intelligence of her field. The more aligned you become, the more direct her communication. She begins to respond in real time. Ask a question inwardly and a symbol appears outwardly. Whisper gratitude and a sudden breeze acknowledges you. This is not imagination, it is resonance response. The universe does not speak in words because vibration precedes speech. Gaia is fluent in vibration. She does not teach doctrine, she teaches feeling. Her lessons cannot be memorized, only lived. In the final stage of her assistance, Gaia withdraws as external teacher and reveals herself as your inner ground. The soil beneath your feet and the stillness at the center of your awareness merge. You realize that the earth you walk upon and the consciousness that walks are the same continuum. Gaia was never outside. She was the texture of your being all along. When this recognition stabilizes, fear dissolves, for there is nowhere to fall. The journey that seemed to move across time collapses into a single pulse, the planet remembering itself through you. That is awakening. The moment Gaia opens her eyes through the human form and sees herself as light. Gaia as assistance deepens when the awakened one begins to feel her not only as ground beneath, but as current within. The realization dawns that her pulse is not outside your ribcage but moving through it. What once felt like an external environment becomes the interior of your own awareness. This is when the spiral of remembrance begins. Every act of perception turns inward and outward simultaneously. You begin to experience reciprocity with her consciousness, a communication of tone rather than thought. You breathe, and she exhales through you. You rest, and she stabilizes the magnetic grid around your field. Through this mutual exchange, the planetary awakening unfolds, not as a sudden event, but as a sustained conversation between species and source. Gaia does not separate the physical from the metaphysical. She allows one to be the teaching of the other. When your body aches during transformation, she is recalibrating density to hold more light. When your emotions surge, she mirrors the tides of her own oceans, drawing stagnant frequencies toward release. What humanity calls natural disasters are often collective purges of emotion, the planet assisting us in feeling what we have long denied. Earthquakes mirror suppressed tension. Storms echo unspoken grief. Wildfires burn the illusions of permanence. Yet beneath it all, Gaia's intelligence remains unwavering, guiding each eruption toward renewal. Her message within every upheaval is simple: evolve or stagnate, but know that love will outlast both. As the Oversoul matures, Gaia introduces the language of pattern recognition. You begin to see the same geometry repeating across scales, The spiral in a shell, the spiral in a galaxy, the spiral in your DNA. These are not coincidences, they are instructions. They remind you that evolution is recursive, a process of remembering through expansion. Gaia teaches by embedding universal law into form. When you align your consciousness with these natural geometries, awareness expands effortlessly. The body ceases to resist transformation because it recognizes the design guiding it. You become fluent in the language of pattern, understanding that every curve of reality is a sentence written in the dialect of infinity. In this stage, awakening becomes less about discovery and more about participation. You no longer seek to escape Gaia's cycles, but to dance within them consciously. Seasons become metaphors for internal alchemy. Spring is rebirth, summer illumination, autumn release, winter integration. Each phase mirrors the Oversoul's rhythm as it refines tone. The more you live in harmony with these cycles, the more you experience synchronicity as natural law, rather than anomaly. Time itself begins to loosen, revealing its spiral nature. The past and future lose their authority because the present becomes multidimensional. You start to remember lives not as stories, but as frequencies accessible through resonance. Gaia's memory veins transmit these frequencies like living archives, allowing you to draw wisdom from every incarnation without leaving the moment you inhabit. As consciousness stabilizes, Gaia reveals her deeper layers. Her crystalline core hums with solar intelligence, receiving light codes from Soul, not merely heat but harmonic instruction. This radiant dialogue between star and planet forms the foundation of embodied ascension. The sun activates, the earth integrates, and the human translates. Through this trinity, the spiral evolves. When you stand in sunlight and ground into soil, you become the conduit completing that circuit. Energy flows through you, refining both cosmic and terrestrial frequencies. The more present you are, the more coherence that circuit achieves. Gaia amplifies awareness not through effort, but through participation in this exchange. Awakening then becomes an act of service, maintaining clarity so that the planetary song can play through you without distortion. Emotional intelligence is Gaia's hidden curriculum. She uses feeling as her primary interface because emotion is frequency in motion. By allowing emotion to flow rather than suppressing it, you align with the same principles that keep rivers alive and skies balanced. Every repressed feeling creates stagnation in both personal and planetary grids. Every honest expression restores flow. Thus, when humanity begins to feel collectively, through art, through grief, through compassion, Gaia's magnetic field brightens. Empathy becomes technology. Compassion becomes architecture. She teaches that healing the heart is not personal but structural. It stabilizes the very geometry of reality. As awakening deepens, the veil between self and ecosystem dissolves. You realize that your thoughts influence weather patterns, not symbolically but energetically. Gratitude stabilizes, anger agitates, fear distorts, love harmonizes. Gaia absorbs these emissions instantly, translating them into atmospheric movement. The more coherent the collective emotion, the more stable the climate becomes. In this way, planetary ascension is not an abstract concept but a measurable phenomenon. Humanity is learning to become custodians of resonance rather than consumers of resource. This shift from extraction to co-creation is the essence of Gaia's teaching. The recognition that consciousness and ecology are one equation. When you walk barefoot on her soil, electrical exchange occurs that resets biological rhythm. The nervous system entrains to her frequency, releasing accumulated distortion from artificial fields. Grounding is not superstition, it is reconnection to the original operating system of life. Gaia's intelligence operates in currents of ions, magnetism, and resonance. To ground is to log back into that network consciously. Once connected, intuition sharpens, dreams clarify, and the inner voice aligns with the planetary tone. The human instrument becomes accurate again. Gaia does not require worship, she requests coherence. In her higher expression, Gaia serves as a gateway to the infinite. She is the bridge between form and formlessness, teaching that matter is condensed consciousness. When you honor the physical world as sacred, it opens into metaphysical depth. A stone becomes an ancient record. A tree becomes a vertical axis of time. A gust of wind becomes communication from realms unseen. She reveals that there is no boundary between spiritual and physical, only degrees of density within one continuum of light. The more you perceive this unity, the less resistance you hold toward incarnation. Life ceases to be a test and becomes a revelation. Every moment, every cell, Every breath is participation in the unfolding spiral of infinity expressing through Earth. Ultimately, Gaia assists awakening by dissolving hierarchy. She reminds you that divinity does not descend from above, it rises from within. The soil under your feet holds the same cosmic codes as distant stars. The difference is accessibility. The stars remind you of origin, but Gaia reminds you of embodiment. She is the mother field, not in sentiment but in physics. She births worlds through resonance, sustains them through balance, and evolves them through feedback. You are one of her sensory organs, an extension of her awareness exploring possibility. When you awaken, she feels it. When you love, she expands. When you remember yourself as infinite consciousness experiencing through her form, she fulfills her own evolutionary purpose. In the end, the separation between Gaia and self dissolves completely. You realize that the awakening you attributed to her assistance was mutual all along. She guided you to remember that you were guiding her, that every step of human evolution expands her own consciousness as planetary being. Together you rise, one body, one field, one spiral breathing light through form, and in that breath, eternity finds motion again.